Hi everybody. So in the last class we discussed the kingdom under the kingdom of mycota. We discussed up to basidiomycetes. So far we discussed phycomycetes, ascomycetes, basidiomycetes, and one more is there under the kingdom mycota, that is class deuteromycete. Okay. So in the previous class we discussed the basidiomycetes. Basidiomycetes are the fungi which produces the fruiting bodies called a basidiocarp, and those who the fungi which produces mushroom. Okay, they are all belongs to the class basidiomycete. So basidiomycetes reproduce only by a sexual method, and asexual method is absent. Okay, so and sexual structures are also absent in basidiomycetes, where two compatible hyphae fused together, and they have that dikaryon stage. After the fusion of nucleus, the structure, the cell where the zygote is going to be formed, it undergo meiosis to produce the haploid spores. Those haploid spores are produced by a structure called as basidia. Okay, so like that many basidia are grouped together to form a compactly arranged structure called basidiocarp. Okay. So let us discuss one more class in the kingdom mycota, that is deuteromycete. Okay, so this class deuteromycete is also called as fungi imperfectae. Okay, it is called fungi imperfectae. Okay, apart from these remaining classes like phycomycete, ascomycete and basidiomycete, they are like a perfect fungi. Okay, phycomycetes, ascomycetes and basidiomycetes, they are the perfect fungi. Why they are called as perfect fungi? They are called so because they reproduce by sexual method. Okay, so these are called as a perfect fungi because they reproduce by sexual method along with the asexual method. That means the sexual stages of this phycomycete, ascomycete and basidiomycete is known. Okay, ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಇದ್ರ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಕೂಡ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ನಮಗೆ. ಸೊ phycomycetes produces zygospores or oospores, whereas ascomycete produces ascospores and basidiomycete produces basidiospores as the sexual spores. They produces sexual spores, and along with that they also reproduce by asexual method. Okay, but these deuteromycetes, in deuteromycete sexual stage is unknown. Okay, ಅಂದರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅದರ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಮೀನ್ ದಟ್ ದೇ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದಟ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್, ಬಟ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಅನೇಬಲ್ ಟು ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ದಟ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ವಿತ್ advancement with respect to the research. So when the scientists they are found out the sexual stage or the perfect stage, they shifted these fungi which are earlier in deuteromycete into respective ascomycetes or basidiomycete, not to phycomycetes, because phycomycete has a separate hyphae, whereas this ascomycete and basidiomycete have a separate hyphae, and deuteromycete also have separate hyphae. Once the lineage is identified, okay, they are shifted either to ascomycete or to basidiomycetes. Depends on whether the sexual stage of this deuteromycete produces ascomycetes or ascospores or basidiospores. Okay, so initially they were in deuteromycete. Once the sexual stage or perfect stage is identified, they are shifted either to ascomycete or basidiomycete. Okay, so sexual stage is unknown, or even we can say sexual stage is absent. Okay, unknown ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ absent ಕೂಡ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. Okay, then they reproduce by reproduce by asexual method. reproduce by asexual method. Okay, so in asexual method, they produces conidia. Okay, so this is the brief thing regarding the fungi imperfectae. Why they are called as imperfectae? Because they don't have sexual stage. Okay, so with this little introduction, let's begin a little bit more regarding the fungi. So what is where do you find this? Okay, where do you find this fungi? So habitat, ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಫಂಗೈ ಅಂತ ಅಂದರೆ they are found in ಸಾಯಿಲಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ as a decomposer. Okay, on as parasites. Okay, and even in some fungi producers, sorry, they are not present in water. Okay, parasite, like they could be found soil ಅಲ್ಲಿ decomposers ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲ parasites ಆಗಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ. And even they are like storage fungi. They are storage fungi. Grains ಮತ್ತು seeds ಅನ್ನು ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಆ ಟೈಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ they are able to grow. Okay, so this is about their habitat. How they look like. So what is the thallus nature? So ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ thallus nature? So they have septate hyphae. Okay, as a similar to ascomycete and basidiomycete, they have septate hyphae. Okay, and also septate means the whole hyphae is divided into compartments. Okay, and they are provided with the small pores for cytoplasm exchange between the two compartments. Okay, so this is septa. Okay, so this is about the thallus. We come to mode of nutrition. How they draw on the nutrients. Mode of nutrition. Okay, so most of these fungi imperfectae, okay, most of these are saprophytes. Okay, depends on dead and decaying matter. Dead and decaying matter. Okay, so let me give some example for this. So example for saprophytic deuteromycetes. Trichoderma species. Okay, so trichoderma species is the best example for that. Okay, next come to parasitic. So parasitic, so causes diseases. In plants. In plants they cause us different kinds of diseases like a spot disease, blight disease, and even a rot disease they caused. Okay, so example for disease causing deuteromycete, one is Alternaria species. Okay, Alternaria species is there. Then Coleotrichum species. Okay, Alternaria, Coleotrichum. Helminthosporum species. Okay, so there's one peculiar species there in Alternaria. So that Alternaria causes Alternaria solani. Alternaria solani causes early blight in potato. While discussing the phycomycetes, we discussed there is a blight called a late blight in potato caused by one of the phycomycetes fungi. Okay, Phytophthora infestans, that causes late blight, but Alternaria solani causes early blight. So similarly, Coletotrichum, there is a species of Coletotrichum fulcatum. There is a species called Coletotrichum fulcatum that causes a red rot of sugarcane. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಡ್ ರಾಟ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್ನ ಕಾಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ರೆಡ್ ರಾಟ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಕಾಸಿಂಗ್ ಫಂಗೈ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ರೆಡ್ ರಾಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ, ಯು ಮೈಟ್ ನೋ ದಟ್ ಇನ್ sugarcane nodes and internodes were there. Okay, sometime in some nodes, in internodes you can find some splitting of the sugarcane where it appears red in color. ಈ ಥರ ಸ್ಪ್ಲಿಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಿಂಗೆ ರೆಡ್ ಕಲರ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so this splitting is caused by this Coletotrichum fulcatum that causes a red rot. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ರೆಡ್ ಕಲರ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. You can observe that. Okay, so that is red rot. This red rot of sugarcane is caused by Coletotrichum fulcatum. Okay, so this is about the mode of nutrition. Okay, then come to the reproduction. How they reproduce. Of course, we briefly discussed already how they reproduce. Let me deal it with little detail. So reproduction. Okay, in reproduction they reproduce by asexual method and vegetative method and sexual reproduction is absent. Sexual reproduction is absent. So similarly, one more fungi class is there where asexual method is absent. That asexual method is absent in Basidiomycete, sexual method is absent in Deuteromycete. Then in a vegetative method, it reproduces by fragmentation. So fragmentation antandre hypha irutte. This hyphae, since it has a septate hyphae, this septate hyphae get a breakout and this single fragment can grow into individual hyphae again by regeneration like. Okay, so that is fragmentation. And in asexual method it produces conidia. Okay, so if you recall the definition of conidia, okay, in the beginning class I told what are those conidia. So conidia are exogenously produced spores. Okay, exogenously produced spores are called conidia. Similarly, endogenously produced spores are also there. In the previous class we discussed that endogenously produced spores are either aplanospores or zoospores, whereas this conidia are exogenously produced spores. So conidia is a common method of reproduction in case of deuteromycete. Okay, so this is about reproduction. Then let's come to the problem related to the sexual and asexual reproduction and how they shift the fungi into different classes. Let me take one example for that. So there is a fungi called as Fusarium species. This Fusarium species belongs to this deuteromycete, and this is the asexual stage. This is asexual stage. This asexual stage is also termed as anomorph. Okay, ಇದನ್ನು ಅನಾಮಾರ್ಫ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. Asexual stage is called anomorph. So in asexual stage, this Fusarium produces the hyphae, or let me write mycelia. During asexual reproduction, it produces the hyphae, vertical hyphae like this, a compactly arranged vertical hyphae like this, and it produces the conidia like this, half moon shaped conidia it produces. Okay, so this is conidia and this is conidiospore. So conidia is like this, ಈ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ conidia. Okay, so in asexual stage it produces the conidia like that on a conidiophore. Okay, similarly this Fusarium, the sexual stage of Fusarium is also known. Okay, so that the sexual stage of this Fusarium is any deuteromycete is called teleomorph. ಇದನ್ನು teleomorph ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. So this teleomorph is a sexual stage where it produces sexual spores. Okay, so ಹೇಗೆ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ಅ ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ it produces the fruiting body like this. ಈ ಥರ ಫ್ರೂಟಿಂಗ್ ಬಾಡಿನ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ಮೆನಿ ಆಸ್ಕಸ್. ಸೊ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ವಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ಕಸ್. ಸೊ ವಿತಿನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಆಸ್ಕಸ್ it produces ಈ ಥರ 8 ಆಸ್ಕೋಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸನ್ನು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. During sexual stage it produces ascospores. During a sexual stage it produces conidia. So the name of this sexual stage of this Fusarium is Gibberella. It is called Gibberella species. Okay, so ಈ ಜಿಬ್ಬರೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಪೀಷೀಸ್ದು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿಸ್ ಫಂಗೈ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ದ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಹಾರ್ಮೋನ್ is isolated called gibberellic acid. So that is Gibberella species. So now by using a phylogenetic analysis, molecular phylogenetic analysis, they came to know that Fusarium and Gibberella both are same. So in asexual stage or in deuteromycete it is named as Fusarium, whereas in sexual stage it is named as Gibberella. In Gibberella, since it produces ascomycete, so this Gibberella is in ascomycete. Ascomycete. Okay, since it is produces ascomycetes. Okay, so similarly one more fungi, let me tell you that is Coleotrichum. So let me write here. Coleotrichum, it is asexual stage. Okay, so in asexual stage it produces the structure like this, the fruiting body like this. When you open, it produces the conidia like this. It produces the conidia like this. Whereas the sexual stage of this fungi, the sexual stage of this fungi is glomerella. It is glomerella species. This glomerella species produces ascus. Okay, so this ascus consisting of ascospores. Remember, each ascus can produce 8 ascospores. Okay, so it is ascospores. Really? So in asexual stage, it produces conidia. The name is coletotrichum. This is the anomorph, and the teleomorph is glomerella. It produces by sexual spore by producing ascospores. So this is the deuteromycete stage. This is the ascomycete, since it produces ascomycetes. So like that, whenever the sexual stage is established, these fungi are taken out from this group and shifted into the respective one. So most of them are shifted to this ascomycetes because they produce ascospores. Okay, so this is how they shifted from one class to another class. Okay, the asexual and asexual stage, they are established the lineage or linkage by molecular analysis. When they done the molecular analysis, both belongs to the same. The molecular analysis, DNA banding pattern, the DNA sequencing it match with the both 100%. They are the same fungi. The stages are different. One is asexual stage, another one is sexual stage. Okay, so this is how they shifted from one class to another class once they identified the perfect stage. Okay, so hope you understand how they're shifted from one class to another class based on what. Okay. Next come to, is there any importance from this class is there or not? Okay, let me discuss in brief. So importance of this fungi, imperfecti. Of course, this importance include its beneficial as well as the disease causing ability. So importance, let me deal with the beneficial role first. Trichoderma species. So many species were there in Trichoderma, and this Trichoderma species this sexual stage is called hypocrea. Like a sexual stage called identify ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. This Trichoderma species can be used as a biocontrol agent. It is a biocontrol agent used to control root or soil-borne pathogens. Okay, so trichoderma ಅನ್ನೋದೊಂದು ಫಂಗೈ ವಿಚ್ ಬಿಲಾಂಗ್ಸ್ ಟು ಡಿಟೆರೋಮೈಸೈಟ್. ಆ ಟ್ರೈಕೋಡರ್ಮಾನ ಗ್ರೋ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಸಾಯಿಲಿಗೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಿಲ್ ಆಲ್ ಅದರ್ ಫಂಗೈ. ಓಕೆ, ಇದ್ರ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ಯಾವ ಫಂಗೈನೂ ಬೆಳೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಟ್ರೈಕೋಡರ್ಮಾ. ಓಕೆ, ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಿಲ್ ದಟ್ ಫಂಗೈ. Okay, that is how it can control the soil-borne or root-borne diseases in case of crop plants. Okay, ಈ ಟ್ರೈಕೋಡರ್ಮಾ ಪೌಡರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಮೀಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೋ ಮಾಡಿ ಪೌಡರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಿಗೆ ತೊಗೊಂಬಂದಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ದಟ್ ಪೌಡರ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಪುಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ಬೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ವೇರ್ ಇಟ್ ಗ್ರೋಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಿಲ್ಸ್ ದ ಅದರ್ root disease causing fungi there. Okay, so it is a biocontrol agent, and from one species of this Trichoderma, a cyclosporin is isolated, a chemical called a cyclosporin. Okay, used as a medicine. ಇದನ್ನು ಮೆಡಿಸಿನ್ ಆಗಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಇಯರಲ್ಲಿ ಓದ್ತೀರಾ. ಆಸ್ ಅ ಇಮ್ಯುನೋಸಪ್ರೆಸಿವ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೈಕ್ಲೋಸ್ಪೋರಿನ್ ಐಸೋಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಟ್ರೈಕೋಡರ್ಮಾ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ ಮೆಡಿಸಿನ್. ಓಕೆ, so this is one of the important role of trichoderma. So next, disease causing organisms. Okay, like coletotrichum. This coletotrichum causes red rot in sugarcane, red rot in and there is a disease called anthracnose in ಚಿಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕೆಂಪು ಮೆಣಸಿನಕಾಯಿ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಸ್ಪಾಟ್ ಥರ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಕೆಂಪು ಕಲರ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲೊಂಥರ ಒಣಗೋಗಿರೋ ಥರ ಸುಟ್ಟಿರೋ ಥರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ anthracnose disease that is caused by this coleotrichum. And one more important and interesting fact about this coleotrichum is ripened banana. That ripened banana become black colored spots. Okay, ಅದನ್ನು ಚುಕ್ಕಿ ಬಾಳೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ತುಂಬ ಹಣ್ಣಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ಚುಕ್ಕಿ ಬಾಳೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ದಟ್ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಕಲರ್ ಸ್ಪಾಟ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಪೆರಿಕಾರ್ಪ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ವಾಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಬೆಳೆದಿರುವಂಥ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಕಲರ್ ಏನಿದೆ, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ coleotrichum only. ಇದನ್ನು ಲೇಟೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ಯಾಥೋಜನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದು ಅರ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೇಜಲ್ಲೇ ಬನಾನಾ ಸಿಪ್ಪೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಬೆಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ರೈಪನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಗ್ರೋ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ಡ್ ಆ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಕಲರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಈ coleotrichum ಇಂದ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, next come to one more called I already discussed that alternaria. Okay, of course with the species, so here you need to remember a species name, Alternaria solani. Early blight of potato is caused by this Alternaria solani. And Cercospora species, and they causes ticca disease in groundnut. ಈ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ನಟ್ ಲೀಫ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇದು ಈ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ನಟ್ ಲೀಫು. ಆ ಲೀಫ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಈ ಥರ ಸ್ಪಾಟ್ಗಳಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಇದು ಬ್ರೌನ್ ಕಲರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಬ್ರೌನ್ ಕಲರ್ ಸುತ್ತ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಯೆಲ್ಲೋ ಕಲರ್ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನು ಟಿಕ್ಕಾ ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಆ ಟಿಕ್ಕಾ ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಸ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದಿಸ್ Cercospora species. Okay, so this is the importance of the fungi. And remember, most of them are saprophytes. They are saprophytes. Helps in nutrient cycling. ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಯೆಂಟ್ ಸೈಕ್ಲಿಂಗಿಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. Nutrient cycling. They help in nutrient cycling as usual other fungi do. Okay, so this is about the fungi imperfecta. So they are called as imperfecta because the sexual stage is not known for this fungi. Once the sexual stage is established, they are given by different names and shifted to different class. So most of them are shifted to ascomycetes because the sexual stage they produces ascospores. Okay, so example for deuteromycetes, Trichoderma, Coleotrichum, Alternaria and Cercospora. These are the very common examples. Okay, so it completes the kingdom Mycota. The kingdom of Mycota was created by Whitaker based on the mode of nutrition and thallus nature, because they produces hyphae. It's a very special kind, and only one fungi is there in Mycota which do not produces hyphae, that is Saccharomyces cerevisiae, called as yeast. So it is one of the example for a unicellular fungi, and all other multicellular fungi. There is a group called yeast. Few genus and species were there. They do not produce the hyphae. Instead, they have single cell. Okay, so it is a unicellular fungi, and based on the nature of the hyphae and the type of sexual spores they produce, the fungi can be classified into Phycomycete, Ascomycete, Basidiomycete and Deuteromycete. Phycomycete is a primitive fungi which have Cenocytic hyphae. So aseptate multinucleate hyphae called cenocytic hyphae. The only Phycomycetes have that type of hyphae, and remaining Ascomycete, Basidiomycete and Deuteromycete, they have septate hyphae. Okay, and with respect to their sexual stage, Phycomycetes produces zygous spores or oospores, whereas Ascomycete produces ascospores, Basidiomycetes produces basidiospores, and Deuteromycetes are also called as fungi imperfecta. They do not produce sexual spores. So since they don't have the sexual spore stage, they are called as fungi imperfecta. Okay, so most of these fungi, they are found in the soil or as parasites on other organisms. As a decomposers, we can find, and some are found as a symbiotic association with the lichens. And the main role of fungi in the nature is they are helps in the nutrient cycling. Okay, so most of the case the nutrient with respect to phosphorus, they help in phosphorus recycling. Not only this deuteromycete, all fungi. Okay, all fungi helps in nutrient cycling. Okay, especially with respect to phosphorus recycling ge ee fungi galu help ಮಾಡ್ತವೆ. Okay, and few of these deuteromycetes can be used as food. Okay, the edible like agaricus and truffles and lycopteridon like a puffball are edible in the early stage. And many of these deuteromycetes, they causes the diseases in plants. Ascomycetes, so phycomycetes causes white rust. So let me brief it one more time, because you need to remember the names of the fungi and the disease they causes. Okay, so let me revise it. So pathogens from phycomycetes, ascomycetes, basidiomycetes, and deuteromycetes. Okay, so phycomycetes, white rust in mustard. Okay, mustard ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವೈಟ್ ರಸ್ಟ್ ನ ಕಾಸ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ albigo species. Okay, albigo species. Then in ascomycetes, ergot disease in ray plant. It is caused by claviceps purpurea, and in basidiomycetes, rust in wheat caused by Puccinia species. And in deuteromycetes, red rot of sugarcane caused by Coleotrichum fulcatum. So Coleotrichum fulcatum. Like this, many were diseases, of course. Not only these, so many other was also there. For you people, it is enough. So this is albigo species. Okay, so this is how these are the few examples for disease causing fungi. Okay. And in edible, there were no phycomycetes edible fungi. Only ascomycetes and basidiomycetes have the edible fungi. Okay, so edible deuteromycetes, there were no edibles. So edibles from ascomycetes called as truffles, and morels are edible, whereas in basidiomycetes, agaricus is edible, and pleurotus species, these are edible in nature. Okay, so there is no edible mushrooms in phycomycetes and deuteromycetes. Okay, yeah. And so this is about the kingdom Mycota. Okay, so hope you understand about the kingdom Mycota. So far we completed the kingdom Monera, Protista, and Mycota. Okay, so under the 5 kingdom classification of Whitaker, two more kingdoms were there. That is kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. So there are separate chapters. Forthcoming chapters you are going to study in detail about the kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. Okay, so in this class let us discuss very briefly regarding the kingdom Plantae and Animalia. Okay, so there are separate chapters for those kingdoms you are going to learn in detail. So let's move on to the kingdom Plantae. Okay, so here let us discuss only the important characters of the kingdom Plantae. Okay, so remaining all things about the reproduction and everything you are going to learn in detail with respect in the upcoming chapters, kingdom Plantae. Okay, so kingdom Plantae, of course the kingdom Plantae and Animalia, those are they are since two kingdom classification. The organisms which are having the photosynthesis property, there comes under this kingdom Plantae. Since Aristotle time or even our Rig Veda time, you have this classification Plantae and Animalia. So the chief character, the prominent character of the kingdom Plantae, they have cell wall. Okay, so they have cell wall made up of cellulose, and they have chlorophyll. Okay, they have chlorophyll pigment. Okay, so all the organisms which are having that chlorophyll pigments, they are treated as plants. Okay, so that is the reason why so many other organisms earlier which were there in the plant kingdom, later they are shifted to Monera, like a blue green algae like an Nostoc and Anabina. They have chlorophyll. That is the reason why they kept under the kingdom Plantae earlier. Later they came to know that there is no definite nucleus in that blue green algae, so they are shifted to Monerans. Okay, so they have chlorophyllous. Okay, so chlorophyllous organisms. Of course they have the organelle called as chloroplast. Within the chloroplast chlorophyll is present. Okay, okay, and they are autotrophs. So autotrophs means they can prepare their own food. They can prepare their own food through photosynthesis. So why they do photosynthesis means they have a pigment called chlorophyll. That chlorophyll helps in absorption of light energy and prepare the food in the form of glucose. Okay, so you are going to learn in detail about how the plant prepare their own food in the chapter called photosynthesis. Okay, they are autotrophs. Reproduce by vegetative method, the asexual method, and by sexual method. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಡೀಟೈಲಾಗಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಓದ್ತೀರ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ರಿಗಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್ ಆಟೋಟ್ರೋಫಿಕ್ ನೇಚರ್. Okay, so all plants are autotrophs. Few exceptions were there for this autotrophic nature. Okay, so this is about general thing. Few plants are heterotrophs. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಹೆಟಿರೋಟ್ರೋಪ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಆರ್ ಪಾರ್ಷಿಯಲಿ ಹೆಟಿರೋಟ್ರೋಪ್ಸ್. ಕೆಲವು ಪಾರ್ಷಿಯಲಿ ಹೆಟಿರೋಟ್ರೋಪ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತವೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ ಮೀ ಟೇಕ್ ಸಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್. ಹೆಟಿರೋಟ್ರೋಪ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ದೇ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಕ್ಲೋರೋಫಿಲ್, don't have chlorophyll, do not perform photosynthesis. ಅವು ಫೋಟೋಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಕ್ಲೋರೋಫಿಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸ್, ಎ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಕಸ್ಕ್ಯೂಟ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಕಸ್ಕ್ಯೂಟ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲೋರೋಫಿಲ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಕ್ಲೋರೋಫಿಲಸ್. ಸೊ ಕಸ್ಕ್ಯೂಟ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಥರ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಇದೆ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಓರೋಬ್ಯಾಂಕೆ. Okay, so these are examples for the plants which don't have chlorophyll. Okay, Cuscuta and Orobanche. Then partially heterotrophs. Partially heterotrophs. Okay, so partially heterotrophs are usually insectivorous plants. Okay, so insectivorous plants are example for partially heterotrophous plants. Okay, so we are going to study detail in morphology chapter about the insectivorous plant, where the leaf, the photosynthetic part called a leaf, is modified to different structures to capture the insect. Okay. And one more important character of the kingdom Plantae, they have two generations. Plants have plants have two generations. So ಎರಡು generations ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ generations ಅಂದರೆ with respect to their ploidy and structure. One is having haploid stage. Okay, and the second one has diploid stage. Okay, so haploid stage ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತು diploid stage ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So haploid stage ಅನ್ನು we call it as ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್. ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಡಿಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜನ್ನು ಸ್ಪೋರೋಫೈಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್, ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟ್ ಈಸ್ haploid in nature, sporophyte is diploid in nature. There is a distinct gametophytic stage and a sporophytic stage. Okay, so in the life cycle of these plants, there will be a cycle between gametophyte to sporophyte. ಅಂದರೆ ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟ್ ಇಂದ ಸ್ಪೋರೋಫೈಟು, ಸ್ಪೋರೋಫೈಟ್ ಇಂದ ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟ್. ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಅ ಸೈಕಲ್. Okay, so cycling between gametophyte to sporophyte and sporophyte to gametophyte, or cycling between one generation to another generation, is called as alternation of generation. Adanne navu alternation of generation anta kariತೀವಿ. Okay, what is alternation of generation andre cycling between gametophyte to sporophyte, sporophyte to gametophyte. Okay, cycling between sporophyte to gametophyte and gametophyte to sporophyte in plants is called as alternation of generation. Okay, so then gametophytic generation ಮತ್ತು sporophytic generation ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. haploid stage is called as gametophytic stage, diploid stage is called sporophytic stage. In case of plants, this sporophyte is the in flowering plants. ಅಂದರೆ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ in flowering plants, sporophyte represents the main plant. ಮೇನ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಮೇನ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟು ಸ್ಪೋರೋಫೈಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಮೇನ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಿಡುವಂಥ ಫ್ಲವರ್, ವಿತಿನ್ ದ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಈಸ್ ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್. ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಒಳಗೆ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗ್ತವೆ, ಮೈಕ್ರೋಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಮೆಗಾಸ್ಪೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ದಟ್ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಫ್ಲವರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳಗಿರೋಂಥ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್, ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ಜನರಲ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸೇ ದ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ವಿಚ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ದ ಗ್ಯಾಮೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸೊ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಎ ಸೈಕ್ಲಿಂಗ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಮೇನ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ದ ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಸೀಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಸೀಡಿಂದ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮೇನ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್ ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಎ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಟು ಸ್ಪೋರೋಫೈಟಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಟು ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ alternation of generation. Okay, so remaining thing we are going to learn in detail in the next chapters. Okay, so this is about the kingdom planting. And the last kingdom under the 5 kingdom classification is the kingdom Animalia. So this Animalian plantae were there since the Aristotle period, as I told. So there are 2 kingdom classifications, since they are in 2 kingdom classification. So next is kingdom Animalia. You are going to learn in detail about this kingdom Animalia also. Okay, so ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ important characters. Okay, so kingdom Animalia, they don't have cell wall. No cell wall is present. Mode of nutrition is heterotrophic. In that heterotrophic, holozoic. Okay, so holozoic ಅಂದ್ರೆ engulfing the food. Okay, ಫುಡ್ಡನ್ನು ಎನ್ಗಲ್ಫ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಫುಡ್ಡನ್ನು ನುಂಗುತ್ತೆ. ಡೈಜೆಷನ್ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ದ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್. ಸೊ ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ದ ಕ್ಯಾವಿಟಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಸಪ್ರೇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾವಿಟಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ದ ಕ್ಯಾವಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಆ್ಯನ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್. Organisms. Okay, shows locomotion. Okay, so kingdom animal ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂಥವೆಲ್ಲ ಲೋಕೋಮೋಷನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸುತ್ತೆ. Okay, and sexual reproduction is prominent. And that too by copulation in the sexual reproduction nadiyata. You are going to learn in detail in the next chapters. Okay, so these are the important characters of the kingdom Animalia. Okay, higher animals have a neuromotor mechanism. Higher forms have neuromotor mechanism. Okay, so this is about the kingdom Animalia. You are going to learn in detail regarding the different phyla in the next chapters. Okay, so this is about the kingdom Animalia. Okay, thank you.